Jai Sriman Narayan. Jai Sriman Narayan. Jai Sriman Narayan. I pay my obeisances to my spiritual master, Srimad Jagat Guru Sudarshan Acharya Ji Maharaj. I pay my obeisances to Lord Sri Ramanuj. I pay my obeisances to the Purvacharyas. I pay my obeisances to the 12 Alvars. I pay my obeisances to Mother Lakshmi. And I pay my obeisances to Lord Sriman Narayan. I welcome all of you that are physically present here at the Sri Narayan Dham in Durban, South Africa. I welcome those that's watching this discourse locally, nationally and internationally. And I welcome those that's going to be watching this discourse when it is posted in the various groups from around the world subsequently. We also welcome Lord Ram, Mother Sita, Lord Lakshman, and Lord Hanuman in the Arka Vigraha. They arrived at our ashram today in an appropriate time, which is the month of the Ramanujans as we are celebrating from the 28th of April until the 27th of May, and we welcome Lord Ram, Mother Sita, Lord Lakshman and Lord Hanuman. These Archa Murtis, deities, were donated to the ashram by Venitha and Paddy, and it took a while to reach us. They're supposed to come here during the week of Ram Navami. These deities were bought in India, and we were to celebrate Ram Navami with them. However, the coronavirus interfered with this arrangement, and then whilst the Murtis were with Venitha and Paddy, they decided that a Vyasasana should be built. And within this lockdown period, impossible, but Paddy had the Vyasasana made, and it was brought and delivered to the ashram in absolute love. So I asked them and our transcriber, Dr. Hemiata Singh, I gave them an assignment. And the assignment was, do we worship the idol, I-D-O-L, or do we worship the ideals as prescribed by a particular I-D-O-L, idol? So the Abrahamic religions took their birth by decrying idol worship. And I think I should answer this question that I posed to them in this very discourse. I explained Okay, before I go further, I get so caught up in these discourses sometimes that I forget to mention that whatever is discoursed by myself is not, I'm not the origin of the source of the information. I am merely a voice that voices these discourses, with the source being my Guru, Lord Sri Ramanuj, and the Sri Sampradaya, the Purvacharyas, and the 12 Alvars as a whole. And I'd like to place myself as an insignificant speck right at the bottom of the Sri Sampradaya, where I truly belong. Whatever I state is not original or does not originate from our mind. Whatever I state in my discourses, other than my personal experiences of myself and my devotees, my discourse pertaining to Vedic injunctions comes from the Vedas itself. So I relay the information that is realized by myself after concluding the Vedic injunctions, either directly or given to me by my spiritual master. And the Veda state, of which I have discoursed comprehensively, that Lord Sriman Narayan, when he wills and through his willing, material universes manifest themselves. I then stated that Lord Sriman Narayan enters every living entity, or the soul of every living entity, and every atom, in material nature. So Lord Sriman Narayan exists equally in the soul and equally in material nature. These Akra Vigrahas are made and fashioned and sculptured from material nature. And every atom that exists in every Vigraha, Lord Narayan lives within that atom. And I've stated on numerous occasions that our five senses are limited in their design and function, and in their limited capacity, it will be impossible for us to ascertain something that is unlimited and infinite. Our senses are finite and limited, it would be impossible to use these instruments and for these instruments to facilitate in comprehending that which is infinite and unlimited. So the Lord does mankind a favor. He appears in a material that our senses can perceive. We can see the form of God because our eyes is made with the same material that the murti is made from. We can feel, we can touch, we can arrange paraphernalia, and we can relate to the Lord, who in His mercy manifests to us in a form that is compatible for us to have a relationship with. So yes, we worship the idol, I-D-O-L, and yes, we worship the ideals that is prescribed by each idol. So we worship the idol of Lord Hanuman, and we also worship the ideal of Lord Hanuman, that he is the perfect devotee. So we worship his idol because he is present in the idol, and in the Sri Sampradaya there is absolutely no murti that is not alive. Lord Sri Ramanuj took great pains in scientifically proving this truth, which we will explain in later discourses. So, in Sanatana Dharma, it is absolute science in worshipping the idol, and it is absolute science in worshipping the ideals of the idol. Having said that, I want to state that today, the 22nd of May, in 2007, my spiritual master, Swami Sudarshan Acharya Maharaj, left his mortal coil. He left his body at the age of 70. He was born in 1937 in a village in Rajasthan called the Padla village, P-A-D-L-A, Padla village. In 2017, I had the opportunity of visiting the homestead of my Guru, where he was born, and the homestead where he lived and where all his children were born after his marriage. I had the opportunity, and the caretaker, we made no prior arrangements with the caretaker or the custodian of the keys to these two premises. As we arrived in this village, he was leaving. We took a lot of videos, many videos. We also went live on Facebook, and on one video, this caretaker started screaming, Guruji, 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 Sudarshanacharya ji Maharaj, ecstatically. And he stated that he had a vision of Guruji in his form as he knew him when Guruji lived in that village. So I've explained, and I've taken great pains to explain, that if this type of examples are given to you, they must not be discarded as irrelevant or supernatural. Yes, it is supernatural because spirituality is in the supernatural dimension. And as everyone do not have the capacity to understand the supernatural dimension, do not discard it as false. Simply live with it. And I'll give you an example. When you jump in your car and when you start your motor vehicle, when you turn your key, or now there are newer systems where you just press a button, from that point onwards, many things happen. The key ignites the starter and also turns on the computer box, and the starter cranks the engine. The engine in turn gives torque to the vehicle through the gearbox, and when we change gears, or when it changes automatically, it runs the differential or the CV joints. So when you sit in your car, you take it for granted that when I turn the key, I press my clutch in, or I put the vehicle in drive, then the car is just moving. 1,000 supernatural events take place simultaneously for the car to move. And whilst you're driving, every second there are hundreds of things that's happening in the drivetrain of the motor vehicle. So you cannot say that because you do not understand the mechanics of the locomotion of a motor vehicle, then it is not true, because you are using this utility. Similarly, you are using the utility of the supernatural. You breathe in air. When this air enters your system through your throat, it divides itself into 5 divisions, and it further divides itself into another 5 divisions. You can't see this process happening through you, but you breathe. Similarly, the oxygen that you breathe in, you breathe out carbon dioxide. You don't know this, or you may know it. And if you do not know it, you can't say that this breathing process is supernatural, or it does not exist, because you do not know. So similarly, when we explain incidences that you cannot understand, it does not mean because you cannot understand, then this information must be rejected. You have to become qualified and come to a dimension where you can understand and perceive what you do not know. So on this day, and this is recorded on Facebook Live, where Guruji was seen in 2017 when we entered the premises, and we have videos. I think Vishwadhar has these, and he can post if somebody requests. Then we visited the Banghar forest. We visited the Banghar forest where Guruji spent 12 years in austerities and penances in this forest. And if you Google this forest, you will find that now the Indian government has closed it. After, at night, nobody is allowed to enter this forest, the Banghar forest, because a lot of things happen within this forest that the human mind cannot perceive or interpret. And for the safety of the citizens, this Banghar fort is closed at night. When we entered the entrance of this fort, there is a 16th century Hanuman Baba temple. A 16th century Hanuman Baba temple. And this, at our point of arrival, the villagers were singing bhajans at this temple. We were invited by the villagers, and they were quite thrilled to find a guru from South Africa. South Africa is known in India through our cricket team. South Africa is well known in India through our cricket team, and they were quite amazed that a guru from South Africa visiting their village, who could not speak a word of Hindi, but who could sing bhajans in Hindi. So I sang, and this was also captured on Facebook Live. This bhajan singing was captured on Facebook Live. And also, to our amazement, whilst I was singing my bhajan, a very sick man was brought in the temple. In fact, 4 bikers carried him past us, and they went into the inner part of the temple. They carried him in. His eyes were rolling, and he was in a very, very sick state. I asked one of the locals for some water, and when this bhai was being carried out, I offered him this water, and went into meditation. Only to hear, and this can be viewed on the video, as this video was posted live on Facebook, I could hear my name being screamed, Acharya Ji, Acharya Ji, and when I opened my eyes, one of the devotees that came through with me to India, Melissa Mohanlal, she was screaming my name, and when I looked at her, she pointed at my feet. And when I looked at my feet, this same gentleman that was carried into the temple by 4 bikers was now massaging my feet. This gentleman who could not walk himself into the temple, he was carried into the temple. After having the blessed water, he was now massaging my feet. And photographs will show that he was so excited of being relieved of his illness instantaneously that he kept following us round and round. He refused to leave us. Again, do not disregard these experiences as false if you cannot perceive it. And I think it is appropriate at this point in time to show you something right here at the Sri Narayan Dham, scientifically. Elizabeth, come forward here and bring the scaffold. Leave the camera. Okay, stand, come on stage. Just, you can see can the camera see the scaffold?
Yes, you can see.
Go back, you can come front when I finish explaining. Put the scaffold down. Like this. Can the camera see the scaffold?
Yes.
This scaffold is made of metal, hard metal. It is mangled. It is twisted. Can the camera see it's twisted? Can the camera see Liswe? Camera can see Liswe. Lisa, what do you want to say about the scaffold and yourself? Look at the camera.
I can't do say anything, but this scaffold supposed to poke me, support me, supposed to die, but I never die. The God is saving me. The Guruji was shocked if he see the scaffold. He look at me, I'm walking the road. I'm sure my bones, everything is right. But thank you, Lord, to save me. Supposed to die, but I'm still alive. Thank you.
So this is a true experience. You can go, Elizabeth. Thank you. This happened at the Sri Narayan Dham 2 days ago, where, and we will say through an act of God, the scaffold was dislodged and the part of the building we were fabricating also got dislodged, and Liswe was right on top of the scaffold, and that frame that we brought for viewing was the frame that he was standing on. He and the frame had an equal trajectory from the platform to the ground, which is rocks. The ashram is surrounded by rock. We had excavated to terrace the north end of the ashram for a car park, which is 4 to 5 meters below the ashram level. And this scaffolding, the platform was sitting 4 levels from the ashram to the roof of the ashram. So this drop was 8 meters plus. That metal frame and the wall and leaseway all fell together. The impact of the scaffold metal frame on the ground was equal to the impact of leaseway. They both lay or weigh almost the same. The metal frame twisted into its mangled shape you see now. Leaseway came out with superficial wounds. You saw his head, nothing wrong with his head. He just had a bruise on his head, and he fell head first onto rock. 8-meter drop, head first onto rock. His head is still intact. Every bone in his body is intact. He did not even tear a ligament. Only superficial wounds on his body. Science will not be able to explain this reality. This is the power of my Guru. This is the power of my spiritual master, Swami Sudarshan Acharya Ji Maharaj. He exhibits his power every now and again, and he has been exhibiting his power relative to me from the day I met him in March 2018. And he continues to exhibit his power and his potencies wherever I am performing satsang. Our list is innumerable. Guruji's potencies, the entire Sri Sampradaya, both south and north, know of Guruji's spiritual potencies. When a spiritual master exhibits his potencies in the proximity of one who calls him his disciple, then no other proof or evidence is required to show the guru-disciple relationship and the authenticated guru-disciple relationship. This relationship is unique. It is mind-boggling. It is inconceivable. The guru-disciple relationship is immeasurable. If you had to take all the trees of planet Earth, and if you had to take all the seas as ink, you still won't be able to write comprehensively the relationship between guru and disciple. This relationship is eternal and absolute. Eternal means relationship between guru and disciple was always there. And I want to conclude this evening's discourse by stating that when I attended the Guru Purnima of 2013, on the 19th of July 2013, in the presence of, we were called NRIs, non-NRIs. I think we were Indians of foreign origin. 15 of us were initiated by the then recognized Guru in 2013, the then recognized Diksha Guru of the Sri Sampradaya Ashram, Swami Purushottama Acharya Ji Maharaj, the eldest son of Guruji. He initiated myself, Mataji, Sean, and 12 other NRIs on the 19th of July 2013, and there is a branch in Durban, Victoria Street, and heading that branch is an Indian national who married a South African. His name is Anup. Anup and the Durban Victoria Street branch designate Govind Dada were present in my initiation. They took videos and they took still photographs of my initiation. At the Sri Siddhartha Ashram in Faridabad, India, when Swami Purushottama Acharya Ji Maharaj was the Diksha Guru in 2013. I then had the opportunity of living coincidentally with all the rooms taken. Guru Purnima at the Faridabad Ashram in 2013 was heaven on earth. And the accommodation was full. And amongst thousands of people, we found ourselves directly next door to G.S. Bawa, the last of Guruji's loyal devotees that was alive. And we were informed by G.S. Bawa that Guruji in the year 2000 predicted that a disciple of his will come to India and Bawa must stay alive up until the time that disciple comes to India and he must school the disciple into Guruji's mission. He must school the disciple into Guruji's mission. Guruji did not give him specifics, and whoever went from South Africa to India, G.S. Bawa thought that that was the disciple. And even when Bawa related this story to me and my family, we also thought that there is someone that's going to come from South Africa who's going to be Guruji's great disciple, as Bawa had stated. So even at that point in time, I had no inkling that I was to forward Guruji's mission. Bawa also told us that Guruji knew when he was in his body which devotee from which country will come in which flight on which day to India and see him. So 6 months prior to that devotee leaving his country, Guruji will tell his secretary to jot down a particular name from a particular country and that person's name, and he will know how many people from that family will be coming from another country to him in India 6 months before those people even thought they will be going to India to meet him. So it was no shock that when Guruji told him that you will have to stay alive until you meet this disciple and school him into my mission, and then you can depart from your material body. And subsequent to me going to India and meeting G.S. Bawa, taking my initiation, having branded both our arms, which is the authorized initiation in the Sri Sampradaya, Guruji's prediction, and I'm saying this with absolute humility, but this is the month of the Ramanujans, and I said it is personal, interspersed with our personal experiences, and I'm stating this with absolute humility, that in a mere 6.5 years, Guruji's mission is in every continent. So his prediction had to be absolute, because the system is absolute. The cyclic succession is absolute. The relationship between Guru and disciple is absolute. In a mere 6.5 years, the Sri Narayan Dham and my Guru's teachings, the teachings of the Sri Sampradaya, the teachings of Lord Sri Ramanuj, the teachings of Lord Sriman Narayan has spread to every continent, from South Africa around the world. And we are vigorously campaigning the imports of the Vedas aggressively around the world, tirelessly. There won't be a second in my life when I won't be serving the feet of my Guru. Jai Shri Ramanuj.